suggested it's because women have more empathy than men. Another suggested that women are more emotional and less analytical than men. Another went even further to do the research to show that women talk more than men. Which doesn't necessarily mean that they're better communicators, but it does mean there's more of an opportunity to communicate something. That person found that on average, women speak about 20,000 words a day, whereas men use only 7,000. And of course, there was an author with a theory that the difference is because men are in fact from Mars and women are from Venus. I did this research and bring this up here today not to start any kind of heated debate or controversy, but I bring it up because of the sequence of events we got to read about this morning, and what the sequence of events says about communication. This encounter with these women in this story of Jesus' resurrection is significant. It is monumental that women were the first ones at the tomb, the first ones to witness that Jesus is in fact alive again, the first ones to go then and tell others this good news. And it's even more monumental that they were given credit for their discovery and their resulting work. Even though this story would have had more credibility and probably would have been passed along more easily if men were the ones who testified that Jesus was alive again. Matthew, Mark, and Luke all certify these women were the ones present on this epic day. And our Luke passage sticks out because of the difference in what it is the women encounter at the tomb. See, each of the synoptic gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, and Luke, has the women encounter a heavenly being at the tomb. In Matthew, it's an angel, accompanied by an earthquake, which Trey talked about last week. In Mark, it's a young man clothed in white. And in Luke, it's these two dazzling figures dressed in white. In comparing these three narratives, what's most striking is the difference in what's being said by these heavenly beings. In Matthew and Mark, the heavenly beings address the women with very nearly the same words. Do not be afraid. You seek Jesus, who was crucified, and he has risen. This is followed by a command to the women to go and to tell the disciples, go to Galilee where they will see Jesus. But in Luke, the two heavenly figures ask the women a question. Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. And then they say, remember how he told you, while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again. The question, why do you seek the living among the dead, draws attention to the strangeness between the women's expectations and their experience. They came to the tomb expecting to find the dead, because that is the function of tombs, to house the dead. What they discover is that the tomb is now empty. It is a familiar sign transformed by resurrection. And the even more amazing part is that this transformation, this breakdown of expectations, this beauty amidst suffering, is work that the resurrection is still doing today. Resurrection is still happening all around us, friends. Resurrecting hope as a friendship gets restored. Resurrecting confidence after a serious setback. Resurrecting joy after devastating loss. regain trust after an unforgiving conflict. There are signs, most of the time in unexpected places, that God is at work. And for every time we walk to our tombs, ready to prepare the dead bodies of something in which we wanted to have so much hope, there God is instead. And just like Mary Magdalene and Joanna, Mary the mother of James, or the other women with them, our story does not simply end with us witnessing to this incredible miracle. No, in fact, our work is just beginning. Because the women remembered the words of Jesus, turned, and went to share the news. Because of this, of their own initiative, they immediately seek out the disciples to also turn and proclaim what they have seen and heard. This call applies to us as well. Our responsibility is so much greater than to just encounter, just receive. Our call is to go out and to share this incredible miracle, to testify to the ways in which God is breaking down addiction and homophobia and racism and division and genocide, violence and hatred, surprising us instead with steadfast presence and equality, togetherness, and love that surpasses all understanding. But this is not an easy task. This testimony is costly and tiresome and painful and sometimes slow, if not seemingly inconclusive. Like the commentator Holly Heron writes, the disciples did not believe the women, and nor did they remember what Jesus had said. Peter is curious enough to walk to the tomb where he sees the linens and no body, but he returns home amazed. Yet he does not vindicate the women. In this particular moment in time, this poses important questions for us. Whom do we believe, and why? Or why not? Within our community of faith, are we prepared to be perplexed, not angry or annoyed, when our expectations are not matched by reality? Are we prepared to have our traditional symbols transformed? But do not fear. I won't leave you hanging there. It is Easter, after all, an incredible day of celebration and liberation and peace that the Lord is in fact risen. So in the midst of our wrestling with our call to share this good news, in questioning who is being heard and who is being left out, in our process of remembering what it is Jesus told us before, we get this beautiful, hope-filled passage from Paul. Rather than inviting us to fantasize about catastrophic events, as was popular in that time, Paul urges us to discern dominating powers of sin and death in the world, which shape the human experience and social practice. We still witness physical and spiritual deaths of many people under the sway of unjust human powers. Many people and cultures live deeply embedded in the power of death. But the story does not end here. We are here today to proclaim new life, and it is offered freely to us. Furthermore, resurrection belief is not just assuring individual salvation, but a collective resurrection, a vision of history and hope for the ultimate renewal of God's people and liberation for all of creation. Paul does does not just teach Christ's death and resurrection, but demonstrates God's life-giving power in his proclamation of the gospel. How can Christians witness to the power of life here and now so that we might hope for and bear witness to the future resurrection living on earth? This witness includes discerning, resisting, and overcoming the power of sin and death in all forms. So this Easter, I hope that you can feel the power of the work that has already been done for us. I hope that you can feel the depth of this gracious surprise, that we show up to the spaces which we expect to be conquered by death, only to be amazed that death has been overcome. And I hope that you can feel a beckoning to believe. Believe these women. Believe in this offer that God is making to us through the power of this story. Believe that resurrection is still happening today for us, right here and right now. And I hope that you can feel the joy of this journey towards liberation, as hard and exhausting as it can be, but also as beautiful and wonderful as it is too. Let us leave from this place ready to be amazed. Let us prepare our hearts by remembering what it is Jesus already told us. Let us declare that we are already united with Christ in this powerful resurrection. Let us ready our voices to go from here and share what it is that we witnessed. For this world needs our story. This world needs your story. And our world needs our work to continue to strive for the kind of liberation God has already set out for us. So no matter if you use 20,000 words or 7, let us go forth and tell the good news, the amazing story that Christ is risen. Amen. We'll respond now standing as